Hi everyone and welcome back to my channel. Thank you so much for joining me today. Today I'm going to be doing a much anticipated video. This process I'm going to show you today, this look, is something I get asked about, I would say probably every day. Anytime I post this look or people are running through my website or my Instagram, they ask me about this look. So I figured I'm gonna shoot a quick video just showing you the basic of the process. So we're gonna do the first steps today. I'll show you the product, how I apply it, what do I apply it with, and we'll talk a little bit about the product. The process itself does not take a very long time. However, anytime you're working with blending, it's kind of one of those personal choices, or if you're doing it for a client and you're trying to figure out what it is they want it to look like. So there's a little bit of, do I use more of this color or that color? So that's more of the personal choice. I'm gonna show you the materials that I use. We're gonna go ahead and get the initial down on the board, and then it's a basic repeat. So once it dries, which isn't until the next day that you would be able to apply this, and I'll go over that in detail in just a few minutes when we tip the camera down and get started. But today I'm just going to get you started so you know what I use and how to do it. So let's go ahead and tip the camera down and get this on. Okay guys, so I'm all gloved up, I'm ready to go. I have my board here, and we're going to pretend for today's video purposes that this is a dresser top, because that's the best way that I can show you on camera and very close so you can see what's going on. So you always want to start with a freshly sanded piece. This is actually sanded. It does have a slight hue to it because I did use previously a wash on it, but I have since sanded it up. It is ready for my stain. So number one, the stain and finishing oils, you do need to make sure that you have them on a nice clean sanded piece of wood. So we are going to be using today, it says Fusion. It's funny, I just realized that their old label used to say Homestead House, but basically all the same stain. I use their white, their ebony, and then their driftwood to achieve that look. I open all three cans at one time and I start applying at one time. So we're gonna go ahead and get these cans open and start layering this up, and I'll show you how this kind of takes shape and how much that I work each piece to achieve that look. One thing I want to mention to you guys, I'm going to show you this on camera. Okay, that's not what the color looks like. That's their white. Always, always, always stir these up. And the reason why is because it's a stain and finishing oil in one, it settles. And so you want to make sure that you take your stir stick and really get in there. The other thing is, a lot of the stuff, if you guys can see that, it's chunky at the bottom. You want to make sure that you're stirring in all of that product. So stir really, really well for a few minutes, carefully, because these cans are tiny and you can have a tendency to spill over. So just make sure that you stir super good, get all the stuff at the bottom stirred in, lift, stir, do your best. And then you'll realize, I'll show you guys in just a second how different that looks once it's all stirred and done together. I'm gonna grab a paper towel here so I don't drip stain everywhere. And so I'm all mixed in now. And let me show you what it looks like now. Huge difference. So we've got white now. So I need to do the same thing with the gray. So I'm gonna go ahead and mix in the gray because it is really an ugly color when you lift the lid off, so don't be alarmed by that. They mix really well. And let me tell you, you have to do this every time, because once you let that product settle, it separates again. So what is a stain and finishing oil in one? For those of you that do not know, it is a product that's basically like a 2-in-1. I do not need to do a top coat when I'm done with this project, and that is one of the best things about this product. So let's go ahead and get started, and I'll show you guys what I do. So I basically I always start with my gray. Don't ask me why, but I just do. You're just going to paint it on. As a matter of fact, I'm going to zoom in here a little bit more for you guys so you can see, and tip that camera down directly on the board. So what I do, I dip in liberally into my jar of stain, and I just start painting on. Now, again, this is a look where you can develop it the way you want it to look. I get asked all the time, do I layer my colors or do I blend them? And the answer is I blend them. So I kind of take a piece of the board, Now I'm done with my gray for right now. So now I'm going to take, as a matter of fact, I'm going to take my black, my ebony, and I start going right basically on top of it. So I layer it right over. I'm not going to have any space in between. I'm going to layer it right over. So probably comes the question, well, aren't you nervous that you're putting some gray stain on your black brush? No, I'm not. I'm not worried about it. That's what I want it to do. As a matter of fact, I can go like this and go right over my gray, and it starts to kind of blend it in. It has that gradual line. So here's the thing with this look. You can do more white, no black, less black. Totally up to you how you want to make this look appear. It's just some people, I've done it for clients where they want no black in there. They just want that gray and white. And then the other thing that I always do is I keep one brush on reserve that is not going to be dipped in any stain, and I'll show you why. Because I layer on my colors, and then I take another brush, trying to find a large one. I usually get one of these guys here, and that's where I go back and I start blending it in. Because I don't care if this gets all the colors on it. I want it to have all the colors on it. Because I don't want any harsh lines. I want all my colors mixed in. So see how my white has now become gray? And my gray has become black? So that's kind of how it works. And you just go back and forth. Now I'm going to put some more gray on here because I don't want it that black. Look how dark that's gotten. No, I want some gray in there. The idea behind keeping it uniform but blended is to make sure that you go the entire, like I'm doing here, length of your piece. Do not stop here and then pick back up again. You don't want to see that. You want that. So let's just keep going with this. I'm going to add some white. So this is how I do it. There is no magic to it. It's a lot of work. So it tends to be one of those projects that you could literally fuss with over and over and over, and I do. And that is why, for one reason, I charge more. This product is expensive. It's expensive, you use a lot of it, and it takes a long time. Because blending is an art form, you guys. Blending is something that you don't just, this isn't just painting on one single solid color and being done with it. You're blending this in to make it have a certain effect or look. And so it takes time. And so you have to account for that. Just keep that in mind. So I'm going to go ahead and add a little bit of black in there. You see how I did that? I just threw it in there. Now I'm going to take my brush and I'm going to go back over everything. And what happens is it really starts to take shape, because these colors, first of all, this stain and finishing oil is one of the best that I have found. First of all, it's kind of a unique product. I have not found another. I have found stains that they, you know, they're kind of all in one kind of thing, but none that have ever had as much ease blending as these have. And they have that finishing oil in the formula. So when it dries, literally there's no more fussing, you guys. There's no more top coating and messing with it. So you might ask, okay, so see how that's taking shape? You might ask, okay, well then when you're done, what if something flies into it? Good question. You can go back. I usually will go back the next day. So here's the thing. The dry time is 8 hours for this. I will go back the next day, and if there's something by chance that flew in or it just doesn't feel right, then I take a little steel wool, which actually blends it even better. And typically, I have something in there. Must have been something on my brush. Typically, you're going to do 2 coats with this stuff. Just because you might want better coverage, or you think that there's certain areas that need to be blended more. So yeah, so 2 coats typically covers what you're doing. But anyway, so you can take that steel wool and you can kind of buff it out if you need to. You apply your second coat and then voila, you're done. And it comes out with a nice sheen. These do say they dry to a matte finish. I'd say they're kind of more in between a matte and a satin, but that is the blended look for you guys. Now here's the thing with the stain and finishing oil. They say that after 10 minutes, so it's different than a regular stain. You don't necessarily wipe it back the same way. You're gonna put this on and you're gonna leave this sitting, set your timer for 10 minutes, and you're gonna come back with a rag and you're going to wipe it off. Now, when you're doing these blending projects, keep in mind, I don't wipe off heavily. Sometimes I barely skim, and we'll come back to that and I'll show you guys so you have an idea. But I barely skim because I don't want to mess up the artistry of what I've just done here. You don't need to really wipe. This is a very absorbent oil, and over that 8 hours it will sink in and it will dry. It will not dry tacky, it will dry beautifully. So I'm going to get in close here so you guys can really see this and take a look at that. Well, I'm going to back up a little bit so you can get the whole gist of the board, and then I'm going to zoom in just so you guys can really see the beautiful blend. So that is it, you guys. We're going to come back in about 10 minutes and I'm going to show you how lightly and how easily you're going to wipe this back, and then you just basically leave it alone. You're going to let it sit up. What I typically do is I wrap up my brushes and I bring them inside where it's cool, and then the next day I apply my second coat of the stain. So there you go. All right, so it's been 15 minutes, and the jar actually does say it's between 10 and 15 minutes. And so it is ready to be wiped down. All I use is a clean rag. This is from Lowe's Bag of Rags. I get them all the time. You can also use the Wipe All lint-free cloths. Those are just throwaway disposable as well. And I usually use those, but I'm out. So we're going to use this today. Let's just take a small one. And I cannot express to you enough, this is totally different than a regular stain. So you aren't going to be wiping it back aggressively. You're not pushing it in. All we're trying to do right now is just kind of remove that excess and allow it to dry. So I don't want to move around my blend very much. I like the way this looks. So I'm not going to be applying very much pressure, very light. And when I do it, I am literally going from start to finish. Do not start and stop in the center. Do not start here and go out. Nope, look at how much stain has come off there. Hardly any. So we're literally going to, and I turn my cloth and every time. This now will also, just so you know, that just got out something that was sitting in there. It was like a little piece of lint or what have you. And so it took it off. Okay, that is it. It is that simple. It is quick, simple, easy, not a lot comes off because we aren't looking to take a ton of the product off. Now we just have to be patient and let this sit. So I'm going to show you the final product on camera up close so you guys can see it, and we're going to talk a little bit more about the product. All right, you guys, that is it. That is how I achieved this look. Basically, all you're going to do is wait that minimum dry time of 8 hours. I personally just wait till the next day. So I'm not watching the clock going, oh, it's 8 hours, I have to do it again. You know, my recommendation is the longer you let something kind of sit and cure, the better off your final project is going to be. So 8 hours is the minimum. I go next day, but this is, I want to be careful here because it's still kind of wet. This is our final product for first coat. Look how beautiful that is. And the coverage is gorgeous. It does dry down to kind of more of a, I would say it says a matte, but I really, from my experience and using it as much as I have, I'd say it's between a matte and a satin. I actually have a piece that's finished right now in the shop, and I'll feature that in the end just so you guys can see how it kind of dries down. So this will be ready for its secondary coat tomorrow. I definitely would recommend doing 2 coats at least. It just gives you a better coverage, a better finish overall, and just kind of that second coat, just like paint, it kind of pulls it all together. So it's not a difficult process. It's one in which takes a little bit of work and a little bit of time. The blending thing is something that's a complete preference. Usually when I do it, I have an idea in mind how much color that I want to use. Like I said, you can omit using whatever color you want. If you really want a darker look, you're going to want to use more of that ebony. If you want less of that or none of that, use the gray and white. I've done blending projects with just 2 colors as well. These stain and finishing oils are awesome. The workability time is really great. So that's the idea, is that you put it on, you wait 10 to 15 minutes, and you wipe it back. And then you let it sit for 8 hours, you go back, you repeat the process. I've even, on some pieces where it's just needed it, I have done 3 coats. So keep in mind, it's not an instant process that's going to be done and ready for you to do something with the same day. You definitely have to, it's kind of like buildable coverage is like what I like to say. So anyway, let's talk a little bit about the product. So this, again, this is what the can looks like. It's Fusion Mineral Paint Stain and Finishing Oil. It's typically carried where Fusion Mineral Paint products are carried. You can go online and check where your local retailers are, or you can order it online too. There are several retailers that do online. It is a little expensive. So like I told you earlier, one of the reasons that I charge more for this look when I'm doing it for a client is because the product's expensive. So what we have here in 3 cans, that's about $75 in product for 3 half pints. So this little guy costs $23.99. It's not cheap for what you're, for the amount. I'd say if it was $23.99 a pint, that's awesome. But these are little half pints. So, and it does, depending on the project size you're working on, it does take quite a bit of product. So keep that in mind. $23.99 for half a pint. But I'm telling you, when you think about it in the respect that you don't buy a top coat that is built into this and it's got that finishing oil, it's an awesome, awesome product. As a matter of fact, they say that this stain and finishing oil is one of the best finishes as far as scratch resistant and wear and tear. So I've done a lot of kitchen tables in this and a lot of happy customers. So I hope that was helpful for you guys today. If you have any questions or comments, please leave them down below. As I mentioned before, this was just the first step. Basically, you're going to have to pick this up on your own and do your second and third coat if you want to, but it's the same process, just repeating it. And the other thing to keep in mind with this is that if you really love this look, but maybe you're new to staining or new to this whole furniture game and you're not really sure and you're not thinking, this is something I can pull off. I do lessons. I do them in person, but if you're not local to me, I also do them virtually. I started doing virtual lessons not too long ago where we do it basically, we mirror each other. I'm there for you. I show you exactly the process. You have access during that lesson to ask me whatever questions you need to. So that is always an option. So if this kind of is something that you really want to do, but you're afraid to do it, right now I'm running a special through the end of the summer, which is $35 for an hour lesson. We could cover something like this in an hour, no problem. So just keep that in mind. If that's something that you're interested in, definitely reach out to me and let me know. I'd be more than happy to help you. I hope this was helpful to kind of get you started. I've been asked so much about this look that I figured I'm going to put a little something out there so you guys can kind of get the idea of how it's done and what's used. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you for being subscribers. Keep subscribing so you can get all of my videos, and I will catch you on the next one. Thanks, you guys. Bye-bye.